Good afternoon. Should have cleared my throat before I started recording. All right, so this is going to be a quick PowerPoint overview of the intro and thesis statement, a little bit on the hook as well. That I want to give you I give you a couple samples, I give you some models so that you can kind of figure out what it is that I'm asking you to produce and post in discussion number 8. Okay, so let's dig in. First, well, let me screen share so that we can all be on the same page. Okay, I'm hoping this works. Okay, so introduction and thesis statement for essay 3. So if we look at the introduction as that upside down funnel idea or that funnel, that upside down pyramid that we've been doing for essay 1 and essay 2, we're following that again here, but we're adding a few pieces to it. Number one, we're going to try to start with a hook. And the reason you want to do that, particularly for an argumentative paper like this, is you want to grab your reader's attention from the beginning, get them emotionally invested, right? Those are the two key things. So we're going to have a hook that does that. Then, and it can be provocative fact, an anecdote, introduce interesting or engaging question. Some students even do a quotation, though that's not always as successful. Then you shift to a broad discussion of your topic in general. And this is going to have several sentences in it. It's going to have 4 to 6. And the idea here is for you to give us an overview of the topic as a whole and also provide some sense of like why we need to care about this now, why we need to deal with it now. Okay. Then you end with a strong active verb problem thesis. And I'll be giving you a couple samples of those as well. Okay. So the hook. Option 1, provocative fact. The example I give you here. As of June 2025, 43.6 million Americans hold federal student loan debt with an average balance of 38,000 per borrower, right? Big statistical numbers. A lot of debt, a lot of people in debt. Boom. Right off the bat. So what's the subject going to be? Student loan debt. The fact is really engaging. It gets people thinking, "Oh, damn, I didn't realize it was that big." Okay? Option number 2, okay? An open-ended question such as if you lost your job and home and became homeless, what would you do? Okay. And here you're asking the reader to think about the answer. You notice that the open ended question is not going to be able to be answered with yes or no. That's key. Okay. Bold statement is your third option. Major League Baseball is dying. This was actually used by a student of mine who basically didn't like, he's a baseball player at RCC, and he didn't like where Major League Baseball was going without the salary cap and all this kind of stuff. So he basically wanted to come in with a hard punch right at the beginning. MLB is dying, right? Strong attention getting draws us in. Okay. Now we're like, okay, why? What's going on? Why is it dying? I want to know. And so you start reading a little bit more. Option number 4 is an anecdote or a brief story. And here's a short version. One of the sample introduction paragraphs that I give you a couple slides from now is the longer version. And what we want to think about for this is, all right, look at how it's structured, right? In a small coastal village in Bangladesh, a farm wife named Rahima Begum used to rely on the predictable rhythm of the seasons to sow rice and feed her family. But over the last few years, as climate change has wreaked havoc on weather patterns, the seas have consumed her fields, salt water has invaded her soil, and each monsoon fills her with fear of losing her home forever. Right? Very effective, very engaging. The way that it draws us in is getting us to see this individual person trying to feed their family, but this massive thing called climate change is causing problems. Okay. And when we think of it from those terms, the effectiveness of the anecdote is because we care on a human level about something that is kind of at times hard to visualize or connect to because it's so massive. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. Okay. Next slide. All right. So now we're focused on hold on. There we go. The problem thesis. And we're going to call it that because as we move on to essay 4, we're going to be dealing with a thing called the solution thesis. So we want to be thinking from the beginning, this is a problem thesis, which means we're focusing on the problem, right? By calling it that, we have that label very firmly in our minds. That's the focus that the thesis statement is the goal it's trying to achieve, right? So the problem thesis will primarily focus on the causes of the problem and will not indicate any solution is coming. Your job is to simply say, this is a really serious problem. Okay, you're trying to urge us to understand that. That's it. No call to action yet. We're going to do that when we get to essay 4, right? Make it clear who or what is primarily responsible for causing the problem. Now, we look at this one. Low-income students struggle to succeed in college due to family obligations, financial instability, and a lack of support services on campus, right? So what are the primary issues getting in the way? Family, finances, the campus itself maybe isn't given enough, okay? A little bit more direct statement for thesis sample number 2. Our society today fails to generate and use energy efficiently because we do not accurately account for its true cost. Okay. Government regulation is poor and consumers are apathetic about long-term impacts. Right. So those 3 things are now working together, right? Government regulation, consumers, and our society fails, right? Low-income students struggle, right? That's the idea. Verb, verb, right? That's what we want to be going with. Okay. Now, this last slide, I'm not going to read through these, but these are 2 sample introductions. You notice they're not small, right? The introductions for these essays are going to be meaty. You have to know that yours is going to be big. It's going to go probably close to the end of page 1 before we even get to your first body paragraph. That's how big your introduction is going to be. Okay. These are 2 samples from students. I've done a little bit of editing, but not too much. And these were quite good. These students got high B's, low A's on their assignments. So please read through these 2 when you have a moment, right? Again, you have access to the PowerPoint, not just this video. So hopefully those 2 things combined will help you out. Okay. All right. Wrapping up. I'll fix that typo in that last thesis statement. You look at something long enough, and you guys all know this, you look at something long enough, you just stop seeing the mistakes. It becomes hard. Okay, so we have a strong hook, full, thorough overview of the problem without telling us how we're going to solve it, thesis statement, right? That's the essence of the introduction and thesis that I want you to post to discussion number 8. I'm hoping this was helpful. If you have any questions, if you want me to look at your samples, I should be able to give you some feedback on that. You just got to reach out. All right, take care.